We laugh. We cry. We learn. But really, what doesn't kill you makes you better at managing clients and everyone. I'm Morgan Friedman, and this is Client Horror Stories.
Hello, everyone. I'm especially excited for today's episode of Client Horror Stories. Truth be told, I've never interviewed or even met before a private investigator, and it's so exciting to have the one and only Ken Childs with us today. How are you doing, Ken?
I'm well, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. With that, I have my morning coffee with whiskey all prepared and ready, and I can't wait to hear about your craziest client horror story. Take it away.
Okay, so this actually made nationwide news.
Wow.
No, it's a big deal. It ended up a couple of arrests and 6 sheriff's clerks.
Wow. Before the story even starts, we're already like breaking records on this podcast.
Yeah, this is a no joke, scorched earth style client. So I learned a lot from this.
I might need double the amount of whiskey today.
I think I should pour some bourbon as well. Now that we've started it, that's it. Pause it. I'm going to go get some booze.
Let's jump right in.
So in 2021, I get this call. Seemed like a normal person at the time. He basically explained like he's a cryptocurrency guru, and somebody had stolen his laptop, and he knew who did it because of whatever his circumstances were. He explained how he knew who did it. But the thing is, he wanted to see if this person still had the laptop. He wanted surveillance, and with that, he was prepared to go. Full team, 6 months a year, didn't care, however long it takes, let's just do it.
Wow.
Yeah. And so to me, I thought, okay, well, sadly, like that's not terribly far-fetched for LA standards. So it's like, okay, so fine. He's saying all the right things. Like, I have the money, I have the time, the patience. Let's just go for it. So we do. We ended up not locating the person right away. He then ends up having another team that locates the person of interest, right? So we do surveillance.
So he had the full works with you, but he simultaneously had another team doing the same?
Law enforcement.
Got it.
So that's what I mean by other team.
I see.
So, yeah, and sadly, like that's what gave this individual more credibility with me, right? So like I meet with him in this Beverly Hills mansion. It's like $30 million mansion, and it's kind of like it's not really bizarre, but like it is surreal. And so then meeting with him and 2 or 3 other sheriff's deputies, you're like, oh, okay, like this is legit. It's real. Like, okay, fine. Like I said, they then found the person of interest. Okay. So we did surveillance. We began surveillance. We started doing surveillance. I took a couple retainers and off we go. Right.
Great.
So now let's fast forward, maybe like a month goes by and we end up seeing the laptop, the device. So what ended up happening was another, like a mystery person came over to our subject's home and we could see them through the window. Both the devices were connected and they were, typing away. And
but wait, I just need to pause you because this really sounds like a Hollywood movie to me. So you like had one of your guys outside a window, some telescope-like device looking in, and you saw the device, the computer, and you saw someone else come over and hook up the computer through the window.
Yes.
Wow, this is a movie. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And so we could see the 2 devices, and they're clearly like trying to hack our client's device. And so I expressed this to him like, hey, this is what's going on. And this is where everything turned, right? He suddenly then says to me, okay, great. So when that other guy comes out, I want you to rob him.
No.
I'm not kidding. Yeah.
Wow.
And so that kind of.
By the way, I just want to pause and say, on both in my life and also on the 100 episodes of Client Horror Stories, often people ask others to break the law, but usually it's like subtle hint, implication, leaving things unsaid. It's incredible to be like so upfront and direct about it.
Just bold, right? He suddenly, it was like, what is that, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right?
Yes.
Where I was kind of dealing with this, like a little emotional, like, but business person, and suddenly he shows his teeth, right? I want you to take him. I want you to rob him. The second he comes down, I want you to get him before he gets into his car and take his bag. And like, just like I'm revisiting the story, like my mouth is like open. And I told him like,
my mouth is open too.
So I'm trying to like backpedal this, and I'm saying like, look, man, first off, we're not in the robbery business. Like you've watched a little TV. We don't do that. Second off, like, what the fuck are you thinking?
We can have a whole list of reasons why it's illegal. I'll get in trouble. What are the chances it could succeed, and so on?
Yeah. Well, and not only that, the like moron that we're watching, the subject, this idiot has a gun. Every time he leaves the house, he sticks a gun in his belt and he goes out the door. And this guy's like so out of his mind. He's his own movie character. This guy's a cartoon character of himself. That guy, if I grabbed his buddy down below, he's going to run to the balcony and just start shooting down at us. So like none of this is good, and so I'm trying to backpedal, and I thought I like calmed it all down and cooled things down, right? So it's like, okay, so we're not going to rob anybody tonight. Okay. So he now wants surveillance on, let's just say, subject B now. So, okay, fine. So subject B, surveillance. And now the problem is now the retainer's like exhausted, but things are moving fast, right? Because now the client's anxious, he's pissed, and I'm a little bit like behind on collecting the retainers. And I don't want to bring it up to him while he's like frothing at the mouth. And so, okay.
By the way, I'm loving this story already. I just want to add in, we've also dealt on this episode and in my experience often with just like not collecting retainers or being on time or people refusing to pay. But the twist here is really powerful, that by the nature of the situation, there's this urgency of it. And then when you're in a moment of urgency, it's really, really hard to just step back and say, hey, let's discuss how much you're paying me.
Well, and right. And that would get brought up like periodically, but it wasn't dire, Right. And then also there's that problem too, where you're sitting there going like, well, this kid's worth $1 billion. Like, what does he give a shit? Like he ought to pay. Like it shouldn't be it's not going to be hard for him to get caught up. Right. Yes. And so now like 2 days go by, but then think about this. Not only did his retainer get exhausted, things got ramped up exponentially. So now you're looking at thousands of dollars a day by a couple days. You're suddenly talking $30, $40, $50,000 like in a blink of an eye. And while we're doing this, he had his other team doing more things behind the scene that I wasn't even aware of.
The other team being the police. Right.
The police, and then like some other security guy who was like ex-law enforcement. Don't hold me to it, but he was probably some dude who got fired because this guy was like a complete asshole and had law enforcement connections and had no problems going up to other people's houses and like threatening them. Like what the fuck, And so, but like, again, I didn't know any of this is unfolding. We're just doing surveillance on subject A and subject B, and now things are moving fast. So then, I don't know, a couple of days go by, subject B is now active, and we follow this guy. And I'm about ready to ask for the retainer because it's like, so I think we were talking about money, and we're talking like, I don't know how much money it was, but it was significant, And then he ends up sending a goon, like a big muscle guy, down on the surveillance that we're on.
So, no.
Yeah, and we called him MMA Mike. Well, because that's his name, A, and B, he was a legitimate MMA fighter. So, I'm not a little dude. I'm 6'2", 200 pounds. This guy, I mean, he would have made me his bitch, like he was not a small dude, and he was a professional fighter. So this guy just suddenly shows up on the surveillance, and my team's calling me up, and they're like, "Who the hell is this guy? Why is he? What is he doing?" And by the way, like we're out, like we're gone, we're leaving the job. So my team like rolls off. They're split. They want their money. They want out.
So wait, so question: when you say this guy shows up, you mean he went to where the surveillance was in person, but did he threaten them or say anything, or
No,
was he
that's
just
me later. That was so as the night unfolds. Yeah. So now here it is. I'm like, I've got kids, I've got a life, but no one sees that side of business, right? So like,
right?
I'm at home, my team's working. Now here it is. My team's blowing me up, saying, "Who the hell is this guy?" I've got the client blowing me up, saying like, "Well, what's going on? Why is your team leaving? Blah blah blah." And then I've got kids that are like at dinner crush time, right? Like I got a 4-year-old, and they're like screaming that I can't get their mac and cheese out fast enough. Right? Like I'm in this tailspin of like, fuck, I don't know what to do. So finally, I'm just like, I'm telling everybody, pump the brakes. I'll be right there. So I leave. I sling hash at the kids, leave the house, and go flying to this location where MMA is. The guy, and
MMA Mike.
MMA Mike, and I pull him around the corner, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, what the hell are you thinking?" And he's literally like talking in like Mongo speak, like, "Oh, boss, say, steal, computer." And I'm like,
Oh my
"What
God.
the fuck? Like, why on earth? Like, what are you thinking? And like, why would you do this? Like, you're gonna do jail time, bro. Like over like a fucking laptop that you don't even know is real and whatever's going on." And I said, "Okay," I said, "at least let me paint you a bigger picture." Okay, so guy B shows up to guy A's house with the laptop worth like 300 to 700 million dollars. So you think the hacker just has the laptop, drives by, and then hacks it with the guy that we're doing surveillance on? I said, "No, you're an idiot. The guy that we're doing surveillance on has the laptop. Guy B shows up and they play with it all day trying to break into it. So guy B does not have the laptop, right? Mongo, Mike, like what the fuck, dude?" And he literally like he puts his finger into my chest. I mean, he threatened me, but I forget what it was. But and then in my mind, I immediately switched to like, okay, I've been doing surveillance my entire life. All right, buddy, you're not going to be able to sit in a car, sit still for 20 fucking minutes without catching butterflies or having to piss or whatever it is you got to do, right? So I'm like, fine. We haven't seen this guy active in like a week. It's fine. Sit on the surveillance. Let's do surveillance. What do you know, man? My freaking luck, dude. Guy comes out of the house about a half hour later. Subject B comes out, and there goes MMA Mike. Snatches the freaking computer like a guy.
No.
And the whole time I'm just sitting there like, how did I get here? How did this happen? And it was all these like small circumstances that I screwed up and then ended up in positions where I could not get out of, right? Because I couldn't bail out of the money at that point.
Right.
I was owed a massive retainer. I owed my team their money, and I'm just watching it go to shit right in front of me, right? So anyhow, Mike gets the laptop, they're out of there, and we go back to the original client. So this guy like hacks into that computer in like 2 minutes, and then like a proud kid to his dad, he's like, here's like all, and we're just looking at a black screen with like green text and like right out of the Matrix, and this like nerd is reading off nerd code to me like, "Oh, this is my laptop here, and this is what this line of code means, and it was connected via USB, and this is the date and time that you saw it, so it was connected to my laptop, and then here's all the software that they were using to like brute force and blah blah blah." And I'm just sitting there, I don't even hear a word he's saying. I'm just like, how do I get paid? How do I get paid? Because
And far away.
A, we're owed a ton. B, shit went, this is the actual definition of shit going sideways. And C, I'm sitting there trying to backpedal and go like, hell yeah, I'm so glad you did that. And this is great. And how are you going to pay me? So we walk away from the surveillance, like, let's pump the brakes, right? Because I don't know, you robbed somebody. And so we stopped the surveillance. And so I'm like literally sitting there with my partner, my brothers and people. And I'm like, okay, well, how do we get paid on this? Because this is bad. And I'm hoping he wants more surveillance. I can say, great, let's get caught up plus some. And we end up I take a vacation, a couple days off. My wife's like losing her mind because this job was like intense. And while I'm on vacation, I don't know, maybe like 7:30 in the morning, I get a text. Buddy of mine sends me a clip from Channel 7 News. They robbed the other guy. So they sent goons to the guy's house, kicked in the door, and shots were fired over that laptop.
Wow.
I am not kidding you. The story keeps going, by the way. Like we're not even at the peak yet. We're like at about the top, but not quite. This doesn't stop. Okay.
We might be in for a world record of client horror stories.
This is
bad. So at this point in the story, like what was on the news, did they get the laptop or do you not know?
No, so they don't get the laptop. So just shots were fired. Subject A, surveillance subject A, ends up shooting at the guys, kicking in the door.
Okay. Wow.
So they're, thank God I didn't like just go rob somebody and then shot myself.
For many reasons.
Freaking idiots. Right? So then I'm thinking now I'm definitely not getting paid. They just shit canned the whole job. They fucked everything up, right? So okay. Now I'm still telegramming with the client, like, okay, so great, we'll pump the brakes and start it back up in a month or two. Right? Like, what else can I tell this guy? Hey, you killed everything that everybody's been working for, like a moron. What happened to slow rolling this for 6 months, 9 months, and get law enforcement involved, like you were saying, this whole thing. So anyways, who wants to hear that? Obviously not this guy. So anyhow, the job's over. He now bold-faced tells me, in a sense, like, you failed to perform. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We did like an amazing job for several weeks, maybe even 2 months of surveillance, undetected. And we confirmed that like that was your laptop. Like, what do you want from us? And he basically said, because I didn't rob him, I failed to perform.
Wow.
So therefore he wasn't going to pay me. And at this point, I remember it was like $50,000 or $90,000, like in a blink of an eye. It got that fast, right? And
by the way, you usually at this point in the story, I usually ask things like, "Well, was that in the contract?" And I'm just assuming that there's nowhere in the contract that you're going to rob anyone.
Right. Well, that was our argument to him, was like, literally review the contract. We literally state like, we will not perform illegal activities.
Right.
We'll perform surveillance. What did I like not put it in a bracket, including up to robbing and killing and breaking and entering? I didn't think I had to like freaking outline what illegal activities meant.
People will interpret things to their advantage. It's unclear if robbing is illegal in this context.
Especially with the way everything's just going to shit today, right? Like, okay. So now I'm at this point where it's like, okay, job's over, not getting paid, right? So I pay a couple of my investigators like what I could. There were two that I was not thrilled with because they could have prevented everything from having gone to shit if they just like waited for me to like try to have calmed things with MMA Mike and whatever else, right? So anyhow, so I lost a bunch of relationships over this. And then now we're at the end / the beginning. So the job is over. Now the beginning of like part two.
The sequel. The Empire Strikes Back.
Not even the sequel, just the never ending goddamn, the client that would never quit, right? So, okay. So now I'm talking to my attorney, and we send him like basically a notice to arbitrate, because that's in our contract. You have to follow your contracts, right? So I send him a notice to arbitrate. He actually accepts. And so his attorney, who was worse than this guy, I mean, I didn't even think that that would exist, but this guy was not the world's biggest piece of shit, but probably up there, probably top 10. So anyhow, we get to the point where we're negotiating. So the client thought I was like withholding surveillance video and money, which I wasn't. And so then we use that to our advantage. We said, okay, well then like you just set aside the 125,000 that you owe us in a trust. We'll then give you all the videos and everything that everybody had in total. And then, so then that ended up just being him. I believe it ended up just being him like posturing. So we just turned around and sued, because obviously you're not going to arbitrate. You're not picking a judge. You're not moving forward. You're just stall. So we then just go ahead and sue, because ultimately that's going to be the outcome, right? So we initiate a lawsuit, but before that, I was talking with my attorney, and I just said, look, here's the reality. Like, I'm never going to see this money. And what I would like to do with this is I'd like to write this lawsuit up in a way that we get the attention of the district attorney's office.
Interesting.
Because the reality is, like, I'm not going to get paid. And the cool thing about a lawsuit, I don't know if people know this, but you can almost say whatever you want. Because that's kind of the basis of your lawsuit. You got to prove it, right? So you could say, like,
I see. So in a lawsuit, it basically goes on the public record, and you can say it, and it doesn't matter if it's true or false, because the whole point of the lawsuit is to discover what is true or false.
is to, like, yeah.
Yeah.
So my lawsuit is pretty open to exactly what unfolded and who all the players were. And that was my version of kind of my last attempt to go scorched earth, right? Because I just knew, like, I'm screwed. We just bought a house, I got babies, and I owe my team a ton of money, and this guy just tanked it all. And you know, like, I'm like waiting any day now, like I'm gonna end up talking with law enforcement. Like, this is out of control. So
By the way, I don't know what's coming next, but there are even stronger ways to do that. You make it public, and then you start getting media attention to it.
well, I got you beat on that one. So what ends up
I'm so excited.
Oh yeah. So what ends up happening was, I don't know, maybe 6 months, 9 months, like, attorneys are posturing, like, I'm getting inundated with crap. They're kind of responding to their law. Oh, no. So this is what happened. So I sue him. He then goes full scorched earth on me. We're in our new house. And these a-holes, these like savage crypto fuckers, they don't have work, they don't have jobs, but they go online and pay all these databases. So they know who they're dealing with, they know who you are, they know where you live, they know all of this stuff. It's all public information. They know my phone numbers, they know my wife, they know her phone numbers, they know her family. And so what ends up happening is he then starts just going full lunatic. There's no other way to explain it. Like, my phone is going off all day, spoof calls all day. My wife's phone, she's in education, like, she's basically a teacher. Her phone's going off all day, spam calls all day, to the point that finally that night, she and I are like sitting down to dinner, and we turn our phones off, right? And we're like, God damn it, like, this is so much. We can't even set them to silent and set our alarms and, go to bed. So we shut our phones off. Come 5:30 in the morning, we get a pounding on the door. Boom, 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 boom. I run to the door. It's my wife's mother and father. My in-laws are at the door, pale, blood gone from their skin. And I'm like, come in. I'm so scared for them. I'm like, come in. I don't know what's going on. And they said, where's our daughter? Where's our daughter? And I'm like, go to the bedroom. Like, go. So they run to the bedroom, and they see that she's okay. And they end up coming back to the living room, and we have this talk. What ends up happening is these crypto a-holes, my ex-client, went and spoof called. What a spoof call is when you pay for an app, and in that app you say, I want this phone number to call this phone number. So if you know my phone number, you could punch in that phone number. Then you call the mother-in-law or whoever, and in her phone, it's going to say, Ken Childs and or whatever. So in-law, son-in-law, or whatever. So she's thinking it's a private call from me. And
right. So she gets a call, seeing the number it's from being your number. So she sincerely thinks you're giving her a call.
So she thinks it's a 4:30, 5:30 in the morning emergency that I am calling them.
Yes.
She picks up the phone. It's a woman screaming in the background as if her life is coming to an end. Screaming. So here's my mother-in-law trying to make sense of what's going on at 4:35 in the morning of a woman just screaming, and then they hang up on her. So imagine getting that call. So they would
be pal. Like, there's no other thing to think other than imagining the worst.
They thought their daughter was being murdered, right? So they come over to the house. They beat the cops to our house. So they come over, and we're having this discussion in the living room, and then these other morons must have thought it was funny because now all of our phones are going off at the same time. All of them. My phone, my wife's phone, in-laws' phones, like all of our phones are going off. So thankfully at that point in time, like obvious to everybody, like this is just people, you just can't stop crazy. These morons are going nuts. Okay, fine. So that ends that first part of the morning. Now I'm on the phone with my attorney. I also am getting kind of like probably spoof calls from other people that are like on the fringe of people. It's just really weird and random. But looking back, it was these crypto a-holes trying to like get more information out of me by being fringe, one off the fringe, and trying to build trust, trying to get info out of me.
But by the way, as a parenthesis, I don't know how long ago this was, but my instinct would be a modern form of this would be to do spoof calls, but to use AI, because AI can like imitate people's voices perfectly, to like pretend it's the daughter saying like even worse things.
Morgan, listen to you, man. You're like, no one's gonna fuck with you after this podcast, man. You're like, I'm gonna call your entire family. I'm gonna AI the voices. So then, I'm sitting in my office talking to my attorney, and then, my home office, and then I hear footsteps in my front door. So I get off the phone, and there's two sheriff's deputies with guns out in my front door, in my house. So they spoof called the sheriff's deputies with the woman being beaten in the background, and sheriff's deputies got here. And thankfully, the saving grace was probably A, I live in an ultra quiet neighborhood, and B, I came out basically like hands open. Hey guys, whatever you need, because shit's been going crazy. Come on in, whatever you need first. We'll talk when you're ready to talk. At that point, they didn't even need to see the house. I guess they spoke to gardeners, and they knew nothing was going on. They came in, they saw the way I was like talking to them. They knew everything was on. I was on the up and up at least, right? So that all ends. And then probably within the next couple of days, this is another business. This is about to be a business tip when we wrap all this up. In a couple of days, the client then goes into his phone, probably whatever he logged in, reversed his Amex charges for the retainers that he paid me.
Ooh.
50,000 gone in a blink. So not only am I out the money that he didn't pay me, I'm out the money that I paid my team. I'm out money for buying a house and moving into the house during the whole beginning of this process and having kids and all of that. Then he declines payment with Amex. This is why nobody should do business with Amex.
Well, by the way, last night I recorded an episode of Client Horror Stories, not probably the one that will be launched right before ours is launched, which was all about taking the chargebacks and how easy it is for people with bad intentions to just reverse a transaction and like no questions, just get the money back. It's very hard for vendors.
So I've got a little bit of a tip on that because of all of this. It's the way you handle, it's the way you take payment, it's the way you do business, right? So He did what's called an AMV reversal, and just without question, bam, money gone.
Wait, did you say that's an AMV reversal?
It's either AMV or EMV, but
AMV.
but what it is when you don't have the physical card.
When there's no physical card.
When there's no physical card, even though in your contracts it says you're allowed to do this, it's all like in the open. Amex doesn't give a shit. They don't care. AMV reversal, automatically, boom, client gets their money back. You now have to figure out how to sue or whatever it is you're going to do, or just not kill yourself. Because I was freaking, Lord knows, I was at the edge of the cliff.
Your hair was white before this happened. Your hair was black before.
It used to be jet black. This is only two. Well, I don't know if this is kids or the clients, but either way, kind of the same timeline, right? So then he starts. So he reverses the payments. I had a couple payments that were wired to me. They then went to JP Morgan Chase, which also, unlike a fun note, fuck JP Morgan Chase and fuck Wells Fargo. I will never do business with them, and I'll tell you why. So JP Morgan Chase, when you're loaded, a lot of these banks offer private client.
Yes.
Bit like boutique service, right? So when you have X millions of dollars, they'll do whatever it takes to keep your money and keep it invested. So these assholes, I'm sorry, my previous clients, and
the respectable gentleman,
this gentleman, right, went and told JP Morgan Chase that I had somehow attempted to commit wire fraud. And that's how I ended up getting that 50,000. So another, whatever, 60, whatever the retainer was. So then what ends up happening is they then communicate with Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo shut down without any questions or anything to me, shut down all my banking. And I was exclusively Wells Fargo. Personal banks stopped. Business banks stopped. Credit cards, personal and business, stopped. Everything stopped, frozen.
So with all your money, so you literally couldn't access all the money you had to like pay for dinner tomorrow.
Right. I had nothing. I had to go to a friend that worked at a bank, begged him to open up a credit card without any money, and that I would have to like fund the credit card in like a week or two. Right. So I got a credit card with no money. That was the only way I could like pay for my kids' Happy Meals and like gas at that point in time. Right. So
wow,
that ends up happening. And a big fuck you and thank you to Wells Fargo. They wouldn't honor our subpoenas. Neither did JP Morgan Chase. Apparently they're just like above the law with no fucks. They don't care.
wow,
You're speechless. Imagine how I felt. I felt like, oh, we have a literal current lawsuit. We're literally suing over this. We've issued subpoenas. We've issued subpoenas to Wells, my bank. We issued subpoenas to their bank. Nothing. Both of them.
They just never responded.
Nope. I think we got a response, and it was like not exactly "go fuck yourself," but it was like we're not going to answer that.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's like, wait a minute. I've been with you for like 20 years exclusively. You would think with that relationship, you would at least give me the like, hey, I know this sucks, but kind of this is how things unfolded. Nothing.
Wow.
Yep.
And from there, it's like, I think in the beginning you said, did someone go to jail? Like, is there like any other details about how the story wound out before you go into analysis mode?
Yeah. So a few more months unfold. It's all legal paperwork back and forth, right? They're like kind of pretending to answer our interrogatories and whatever else. And it's just, everybody's just bullshitting each other at this point in time. But thankfully, luckily, they did make a bunch of mistakes in that discovery. So that worked towards my advantage. And then I couldn't tell you when, but I could tell you that I was driving, and then suddenly on my phone, it literally says FBI. And I'm like, get out of here, right? This has got to be some more bullshit. I pick up the phone. And honestly, like I was a little bold. I was like total asshole. I was like, basically like, who is this? This is bullshit. Like whatever. And she said, I am special agent so and so, and I'd like to talk to you about your lawsuit. And I'm like, yeah, right. I just had my whole life blown up. Everybody's been spoofed. I got swatted, the whole thing. I think I even told her that. And I said, so, basically, I'm kind of like about to say, go pound sand and hang up. And either I asked or she said, hey, look, if you don't believe me, hang up your phone, Google FBI, call the LA field office and say, connect me to say blah, blah, blah. I did. Hung up,
You did.
Googled it, and it says FBI field office Los Angeles, hit call after the automations. I got an agent and said, connect me to agent so and so. And they said, boop, boom, I'm suddenly talking to the same agent.
Wow. So it
I
was
validated
real.
myself. Yeah.
And then, so what did the FBI say or do?
She introduced herself again a little more formally and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your lawsuit. And do you have the time? And I said, yeah, what are you doing right now? Yeah, if we didn't meet that day, we met the following, or maybe we met like
Right.
the following. And I said, yeah, let's go, and I'll meet you wherever. And we literally met at the Cheesecake Factory in Sherman Oaks. I sat in a booth and I was like trying to posture as if I wasn't like ready to piss myself. And I'm like, show me your badge, as if even if I know what the fuck I'm looking at, right? I'm just like, give me your badge. And I'm like, and I see the goddamn like literal metal badge and pistol on their hip. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's pretty legit.
Like right out of a movie.
Yep.
And did anything come of an FBI investigation or?
Yeah. So we spoke for a couple hours. They recorded the conversation, spoke for a couple hours, had some questions. We wrapped it up there. And that was kind of like their version of a nice meeting. And then I got the like not so nice formal meeting a couple weeks later, where myself and my attorney met with them, and again, like 3 agents were there. Same lead agent was there running the show. A couple other agents were there, and they were like not only recording but transcribing, like real time as we gave another meeting.
Wow. And
But the real wow factor, how about this? Sorry to cut you off. The real factor is I'm sitting there and they have daggers. Like they want me. Like it's obvious. They're pissed.
wait,
And
they want you?
yeah, because like look at it. Look at this like nut job and what he's done. And I'm a PI. And like how did I end up there? How was I involved in like a fucking robbery? And and then like a shooting unfolds and all this stuff. Like I'd be like looking at me for conspiracy too, right? Like
I see.
I
You know,
literally,
I see.
yeah,
I see. So this is actually something that I often train my teams on. That when a situation is really dirty, it just doesn't matter how clean you are. It just makes you look terrible just for being there. So
the only I look back on these situations, and the thing that I think saved me the most was me being very forward. And I literally told them, I cannot afford to be arrested and like tossed in the ring under a conspiracy thing. I will answer any and all questions that you have, period. Like I'm an open book, period. I'm not going to, because let's face it, like in this second meeting, you realize you're sitting in front of the 3 smartest people you've probably have ever met in your entire life.
right.
And the second they admonish you, that recording starts with, in short, this is the FBI. You lie to us, we prosecute. So there's that. And I literally told him on record, I'm not getting tangled up with this. I already can't believe I'm here. Like whatever you need, ask me. I'm an open book. Don't care how bad I look with it. Go for it. And we spoke for a couple more hours.
Wow.
Yep.
My Did you ever find out what happened to this guy, MMA Mike? Did anyone go to jail? And then from that, we'll go into like the analysis and wrap up.
Yeah. So what ends up happening is, so the client that hired me, his name is Adam Iza. You could Google it. He's currently awaiting sentencing. And then there are a few other sheriff's officers, but you can also find the complaints against him. Those are all like public records. So his girlfriend, Iris Owl, she's also part of it. So what ends up happening is, where the client screwed up was that in one of my text messages, he sent me, because I didn't really like kind of care and didn't believe like how he found the client, because I was like, oh, I think he's just posturing, trying to impress me. Like, oh, we found him via like, what was it? A search warrant. And I was like, whatever. Like, I don't really believe that. But then in the screenshot that he sent me, everything was redacted, except on one line on the bottom, there was a female officer's name. That's what the FBI wanted. So they then showed me a bunch of six packs. I knew one of the officers. I didn't know any of the other officers, but then all the other information that I had through some text messages that weren't deleted and manipulated by the client, whole side story. I was able to show them that, yeah, these were the cops. They were involved. We saw them. This is what took place. So yeah, how about that for, oh shit. So I believe it was like 6 sheriff's officers. We made the LA Times like 3 times. 6 sheriff's officers were arrested. Rolling Stones is going to do a story on all of this. Yeah, it made nationwide news a couple times.
Wow. And it's about to make client horror stories as well. First off, I'm amazed and impressed that you didn't lose all your hair. Your hair might be white, but you still have it. Like you're still there, strong, holding in. I know a lot of people who like literally might not have been able to make it through that amount of stress.
I almost didn't.
Yeah. So congratulations on that. Let's talk a little bit about lessons that you've learned. I'm sure there's so many. You can start just brain dumping them on me.
Lots of lessons. Contracts don't mean shit. So whatever you have in your contract, make it where it's comfortable for you and within your area, right? So let's say I'm in Los Angeles, have it detailed Los Angeles oriented, because the last thing you want is some a-hole in Utah to just yank you out to Utah, right? But sadly and ultimately, contracts don't mean anything, because you're going to have these awful attorneys rip it to shreds and or posture it or just delay. So who cares? Like, write it to your benefit. Fuck it. Move on. Right. B, don't take Amex. Amex will literally like allow people with like black cards and better to just, they open up their app and it just says like, decline the charge, like right there. Boom, you're done.
Quick question. You were telling us a little while ago about the EMV when you don't have the card physically. In your experience, is there declining a charge? Is there a difference between whether you were physically took the card or not? Or does it just not matter?
The problem is like it may not matter with that level of Amex, but like lower cards have a challenge system, right? Where you challenge. And I've always won those. So that was never like on my radar, because it was like, I've always been able to submit emails, contracts, and like a report, right? So an outcome. So I'm able to like give them an entire story. So like, oh, you wanted to back out of like XYZ dollars. Well, here's everything Amex, or sorry, MasterCard. So I've always won those. So I never like had to worry about that. But now what I do to curb this is I have a payment system, and most do now. It's like a slight more percentage point, but like you can go into, let's say, QuickBooks, and you enter in your client's details and you send them a payment link. So now they have to then open the payment link and they enter their details and they verify their payment. So they no longer have the ability to like AMV reverse. AMV, whichever reversal that is. They no longer have that ability to challenge it because they entered their contact info and their payment info. So that's one way to curb that.
I've gotten that in. I pay my accountant and one of my lawyers through links that their system sends me, and I put in the info. I had not realized that by me putting it in, I lose the ability to reverse it. Very interesting learning for me.
So that's how I protect myself moving forward. I would say probably a large lesson is never get behind on retainers, no matter who this client is. And this is where these clients get you, right? Like, this guy's in a $30 million house. I'm meeting with him in his Lambo, and his girl's driving the Rolls Royce. And you're just like, when everything is easy peasy, you then also convince yourself, like, well, why would they back out a payment? Like, this is nothing to them. And it is nothing to them. But people are scumbags, right? So then I ended up kind of getting ahead of myself, when the reality is I should have said, like, hey, big guy, this is where you're at. And let's face it, this is what their needs are. And I fulfill those needs. So, like, if it was a legitimate situation, they should have never have had an issue to replenish the retainer, right? So never fall behind on a retainer again. Another lesson: the second you realize that you're dealing with a bad client, bail. You're done. Wrap it up. The second he said, hey, I was just, can you just like rob this dude? I should have said, well, you know what about that? And just shut the whole goddamn thing down right there. Because at least if I would have done that, I would have only have been out like an incremental amount of money. Maybe the lawsuits wouldn't have. And don't forget, lawsuits are cheap. I spent my personal money to go after this guy to get him arrested.
Wow.
Speechless.
Excellent lessons all. Question: one of my favorite approaches is I obsess over identifying red flag type clients before even starting. So is there anything about his personality, his appearance, your early meetings you had with him before it started, that in retrospect you're like, no, he was like ABC from meeting one, and I shouldn't have even taken the contract?
No, and this is where I think he got me and where I sold myself. I mean, there were a couple of moments where some like foul language and some posturing, but like, I don't know, like, I'm also like an alpha dude. I don't give a shit. Like, whatever, whatever. So I didn't really find anything so extraordinary that like alarm bells went off. And that's where I think he's so masterful, because I wasn't the only one. Like, when he got arrested in the first complaint, there was someone else that they screwed over. There was a huge party, and they screwed over the party planner. And apparently his like sheriff's deputies pulled the guy over, planted drugs on him, got that guy arrested. His charges got kicked loose, but they like I got it bad. It sounds like he got it worse.
Wow.
And that's all public info. It's like the agent that filed charges against him, that was her first complaint. Her second complaint, she amended it and basically made it for like tax evasion.
Wow. So based only on what you're describing now, it feels to me like another possible red flag before you even meet him is I'm going to stereotype like an asshole now. Sorry, sometimes patterns are true, but
I'm not that delicate.
Yeah, I've noticed, and hopefully our listeners are not either. A pattern that I've noticed is about people who have a lot of money but didn't earn it. Like people who like got lucky with crypto, or people who inherited a fuckload of money from their parents. That I just noticed this pattern. Not everyone, there are exceptions. Everyone is different, and so on.
But their value system is different because of it.
Yeah, exactly. That people with huge amounts of money who didn't earn it have this fucked up value system that leads to this sort of very, very dark behavior. So to me,
and that's how they manipulate you, right? Because like, it's nothing to them. He literally told me, fuck you, I spend more than that on clothes on a shopping spree. Right? So that's where his head's at. But he knows, I know, that was everything to me, man. I lost friends. I lost colleagues. I lost money. I bounced checks, lost banking. It ruined. This would, it was so bad. I literally was thinking to myself, he's going to do this to someone one day and that other person's going to fucking kill him. That was what I kind of took a little saving grace to think.
By the way, I was thinking he's going to do someone and that person is going to kill themselves.
I mean, I was like,
wow.
I was bipolar, man. I was borderline. What saved me was one day I was sitting with my little girl and she looked at me. She could sense the stress, obviously. Her little hand pet my face and she said, I love you, Daddy.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why I didn't do anything dark.
Wow.
Don't think it didn't cross my mind. I was maxed out. My wife was maxed. I have no idea why my wife is still with me. Anybody else would have been like, fuck you in this drama. It was that bad.
Wow. It is a dark world out there.
And that's kind of why, like, my wife doesn't want me telling this story, but that's why I like telling this story, is because, you know what? It did happen and it can happen to you. You know, you can't stop crazy. That's a huge lesson that I've learned. You cannot stop crazy. Someone wants to nuke your life. They can do it. Look at the idiot that's currently suing me. Subject A, this moron, he's suing me. Leave it to one guy that could fuck up a sure thing lawsuit, right? So instead of suing the LASD for all the bad things that they've done and they're actually like making plea deals and accepting prison time over, that's an easy lawsuit to win. He's suing everybody under the sun and doing it himself with some like scumbag attorney. Like even this idiot is doing, I believe it's him. It's not terribly complicated to see that it is him going online and creating all these like drama stories and all this stuff about me and all that. It's like, you can't stop crazy. You can't stop this level of stupidity.
By the way, I just to summarize another lesson from your story is, even if you don't have much money, have at least 2 bank accounts where they're split.
I'm so glad you said that, because when my bank accounts got drained, I was sitting there thinking like, God damn it, if I would have had a separate business, 2 separate accounts, I could have at least had the ability to pull money out of that other account or operate my life and my business.
Right. And you want not just 2 separate accounts, but like in separate institutions. But by the way, I just, as a metaphor for that, or another way of thinking about that, as someone who's kind of security paranoid himself, I don't use everything in Google. Like a lot of people do email through Google and docs through Google and voice through, voice calls through Google, all of that. And I'm always worried that just one thing shuts everything off, you're fucked, which is why I'll do email through this platform, documents through another platform, voice through other platforms. I have my bank in one company, credit card in a different company, and so on, because this also reduces the surface area of attack.
Yeah, I get that. I don't operate that way, but I understand that. Yeah. I don't have the bandwidth for that. Even as a private investigator, even I'm not that dark. Like, oh, people could do this. I'm just trying to get a little small business off the ground and get back to where things used to be. I still haven't recovered. That was 22 and 23, and it's 25, and I'm finally kind of at that point where I can breathe and talk about it.
Yeah, when you're attacked on so many vectors, and like at the same time, it overwhelms you. My practical side goes into these little techniques. Oh my God, how do we minimize these risks and avoid this? My more spiritual side, like, here's that story, and first, my spiritual side, like, my heart goes out for the pain you had to go through, and it also asks me, like, what lessons is the universe trying to teach you and teach all of our listeners? There are apparently a whole bunch.
Right, and as dark and as painful as these things are, I think so. Sadly, and and I say this, to potential clients, and I say this to callers, like, you can't stop crazy. Okay. And like, dare I say, there's like, when you take that in, there's a little bit of like, if you take it in a little deeper level, there's something to be gained by that. It's like, okay, so you take a step back and reset. You can't stop them. And the reality is, all it is like bullshit online. Who cares? So they're calling you. They're eventually going to get bored. Who cares? You get swatted, come out with your hands up. Not who cares, but you can't stop it. And then, but if you are able to take a step back from this and become stronger from it, your threshold for pain next time is significantly more. If anybody came at me like this current lawsuit, oh please, I haven't lost like I haven't given two fucking thoughts to this asshole in this lawsuit. And he's online. Google me. He's got all this shit, these made up stories, all this like fun, dramatic readings on how like hit for hire kind of stuff, all this fun stuff. And all I can think about is like, you're an idiot. I think of me, my business, and moving forward. I don't give a shit about all these other things. And I think that that's now the strength that I have from having dealt with all of that, is now I can look at it with clarity. And that's the problem with these like lawsuits and these hacks and these people. It's just like they just convolute and disrupt. And if you're able to step away from that, knowing you can't stop crazy, go back into your lane and go back to work, because that's what's going to get you through it and keep your business going and pay your bills. You start going out into the fringe and getting distracted by all this, not only whatever you've lost, you're going to continue to lose because you're distracted.
That is a great lesson. It's that's sometimes simplified to the saying, that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And you're living proof of that. And I feel like we all hear that saying when we're kids, but you kind of ignore it. But it really is true in a very deep way. And not just that, this is how you get better and better and better, by putting up with shit at higher and higher levels. It gives you the tolerance to put up with shit at an even higher level.
Right. So now, like, imagine what gives me gray hair now. Please, I can handle it.
Wow. And with that, amazing story, incredible. Congratulations for surviving that and rebuilding, being stronger, and for still having your hair. Thank you for honoring us with telling your story. It's been a pleasure. And
thank you for allowing me to like voice my story and sharing it like unedited.
Yeah. And everyone who's watched it and made it to the end, I hope you've learned as much and found it as gripping as I have. To be continued. Thank you again, Ken.
Thanks, Morgan.